Good morning / afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, which is all about supercharging your blogging. I'm not going to waste any time today. As usual, I've got a lot to get through. So I'm just going to ask for someone just to give me the thumbs up, just to make sure that you can all hear me. From my end, my audio appears to be going well, but I always like to ask the question before I get started. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kerrie Saverin. I'm the co-founder of Altitude Business Solutions and very proud to be a part of the Australian Small Business Advisory Services program. This program is proudly brought to you by Business Station Western Australia, Treaty Business Consulting in the Northern Territory, and Brisbane RDA here in beautiful Queensland. So if you have any questions throughout this session today, I'm going to ask you to pop them into the chat feature for me. You'll notice that your videos have been turned off and just for better quality of the recording, and also you've been muted as well. So as we head through, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to pop them into the chat because we are going to be getting through a lot today. Now, you're in the right place if you're ready to clear up the confusion about blogging and learn about the different types of blogs that you can possibly write. Maybe you're a business that's already started blogging, or maybe you're about to consider blogging. Whichever the case is for you, this webinar will be of extreme value. Now, blogging was supposed to be easy, right? I mean, you're just supposed to sit down, crack your knuckles and be able to type out a blog post, and people would just come in droves to your website. Everyone said it'll be easy and that you'll have no problems. But the truth of the matter is that blogging isn't actually as easy as it turned out to be. The writing part itself can be challenging, yes. Stringing together sentences in a way that people are responsive is an important thing. But often you find yourself just looking off into the distance with a cup of tea in your hand, just like this woman here, going, what am I going to write about today? Or what am I going to, what's going to be my go-to today for my blog? So one of the hardest parts of blogging is actually knowing what to blog about. And this is especially the case if you're trying to use your blog to build your brand or your business. So you want to make sure that it's relevant for your business also. But when you're using your blog as a brand building tool, you can't just write about what happened in your day. You're not talking about a blogger where you sit down and go, so today I got up and I did this and I did that. We're actually talking about putting content out there that is going to build your brand, cement you as an expert, and possibly get people to your website. That could be the reason why you're looking at starting a blog as well. Constantly coming up with new topics and angles to blog about that will add value to your readers and your possible customers can be a little bit daunting. It's enough to even cause the most experienced blogger to burn out sometimes, let alone when you're just starting out. So we're here to help make the job a little bit easier today. We're going to be giving you 17 different types of blog posts that you can write. So this will make it a little bit easier for you. So if you can think of these blogs as kind of post formulas, there'll be a bit of an easy to use framework, and I'm going to give you a tool that's going to help you as well right at the very end, which is a little bit exciting. So the first blog type that you can write is an how-to guide or tutorial. So these are some of the simplest yet most effective blog posts that you can create. And they serve a real need for your readers. So you can guide your readers through a step-by-step guide process, showing them exactly how to do something or adding value to them. So we've all seen these, right? We've jumped onto Mr. Google and we've typed in, how do you do this? And a how-to guide has come up. So your readers are looking to you as the expert in your field, and it's your responsibility to show them exactly how that they can achieve their goal or solve the problem that they've actually jumped on Mr. Google for. So some examples of this type of blog post would be how to create a blog, how to do more push-ups, how to build a website, how to dress for work, how to build a retaining wall. So when we type in a question into Mr. Google, starting with how, you can expect that a lot of the time that you'll end up on one of these how-to guides. And they have a step-by-step process. So you want to give your readers a really simple to follow guide so that they can just go through and go step 1, step 2, step 3. When writing your how-to blog tutorial, whatever you want to call it, it's really critical that you break things down into the smallest and most simplest steps as possible. It can be really easy to forget what it was like to know nothing about that particular subject. And that's how you have to write your how-to guide. If they're a little bit more advanced, they'll skip over some of the easier steps in the beginning. But if you're actually talking to someone who doesn't have any experience at all in what you're trying to show them, and you miss a couple of steps, they're going to get confused and not be able to follow it. So don't assume that your readers know what they're doing. You basically want to write your how-to guide as if they've never ever done it before. They have no idea. So be careful about using acronyms. I go to a lot of websites and look at blogs for my clients, and the first thing I go is, I have no idea what that acronym means. So they're talking to me like I know the industry, or that I know how to solve this problem and I know what it's all about, but in actual case I don't. So you really need to make sure that it's nice and simple. Make sure that your tutorial is as complete as it possibly can be. Don't sort of get halfway through and stop, or get to a certain point and stop. And if they need to be linked to another how-to guide for the next step, then that could be something that you need to include also. Remember that your goal is to make it as easy as possible for your reader. They'll see value in that type of blog post, and that's the type of blog post that Google will actually push out as well. So it's really important. Blog post idea number 2 is news and current events. So are you one of these people that skims the news each morning? So for example, I actually, for my industry, being in social media management, so many things change overnight in relation to social media. So I actually have an email that comes into my inbox every morning giving me the latest news and updates of changes that might be being made to different platforms right across the world. So, a type of blog post that you could actually write could be one that is in response to some news changes. This can be particularly effective if you can jump on it straight away. And make sure that everything that you are pushing out there is the most relevant news. So setting up those Google alerts, if you haven't done so already for your industry, can be a really good way for you to get on top of everything that's actually happening when it comes to your particular industry. What's important in these kind of blog posts is that you add your unique spin and flavor to things. So I'm not just talking about regurgitating the news. I'm talking about really simplifying things for people, putting it in your language, because obviously the people that follow you speak your language as well. So making sure that those blog posts are really simple for people to read, and not just a copy of the news that they could read. You want to use it as an opportunity to interact with your potential customers at your level, not at the level of another news program. So always remember to relate the news back to your readers. So, why does it matter to them? What effect will it have on their day-to-day lives, and why should they care about this particular new item? So that's how you need to write your blog. So a news report will normally just say, for example, these are the changes that Facebook are making to their Facebook pages effective immediately. List. What you want to say is, here are the changes that Facebook are making to Facebook pages, and how will this affect the running of your page, or how will it affect you getting customers? So relating it back to them, why should they be caring about this? Why is it important to them? It's a real critical step when you're sharing out newsworthy information, but it's also can be at the top of people's mind. And using Facebook as an example again, earlier in the year when we were reporting, you saw all the reports about how Facebook had made all these restrictions to news pages, and the big hoo-ha it was all over the news. It gives you your ability to be able to push out an email, getting people to your website to read. Want to know how these changes affect you? Head to our website and read about it. So it shows that you're really on top of things and you know what's happening in your industry. So blog type number 3 is controversy. Now, it's no secret that controversy sells. There's a reason that people love to read the tabloids, and there's a reason why reporters are always chasing that controversial subject or news. But if you're smart, you can use this controversy to your advantage when it comes to blogging. So consider writing about a controversial subject within your industry. So whether it's a change, particularly in legislation, as humans, we don't like change at all. So when there is a change, it's linked to controversy because it's like, why are they making this change over so many years? So if you can be on top of that kind of thing, again, your Google Alerts will help you with that as well. Now, notice that we said when talking about controversy, we said within your industry. So if you're going to be reporting on a controversy, you want to make sure that the primary focus is always within your expertise. So, avoid simply writing about any and every controversial subject. The fact that Meghan and Harry did an interview with Oprah has nothing to do with your industry, but it was a controversial subject overall. Okay, so just make sure you're keeping it relevant to your industry. So when blogging about controversial subjects, make sure you be smart. You don't want to alienate your readers or drive them away with your opinions. Rather, you want to sort of carefully and thoughtfully analyze the controversial subject. So, your goal is to provide, I guess, a bit of an analysis for them of the subject without offending people. You're getting your, I guess, opinion across in a way where it's actually received well. And people say, well, I respect that that's your opinion, but I don't necessarily agree. Or, wow, I'd never thought of that kind of, looked at it from that way before. So, you can't please everybody with your blog writing, and that's not the purpose of it. You want to just sort of write in such a way that people come away after reading it feeling a bit more informed and educated and not offended, which I've seen happen a couple of times. So one simple formula that allows you to write about controversial subjects really easily is the this versus that formula. And that is where you can actually say, here's some examples, Mac versus PC. The health benefits of coffee versus tea, keto versus intermittent fasting, MailChimp versus ConvertKit. So you having an opportunity to get your opinion across in a way that actually pulls out the reasons why you feel that way or why your particular opinion is important. So that's another type of blog post in itself, is the this versus that formula. And we've all seen this. Particularly if you were like me, I changed over from PC to Mac about 5 years ago, and all of my search results were around the Mac versus PC, and why it would be of benefit to me to change and what would be painful about the change and how I navigate the change. So the this versus that formula was really handy for me when I was coming to make that change. So this could be, you could pull something out in your industry that's a little bit controversial and be able to present it in that way. Now, the fourth type of blog post that you could write about is a checklist. Now, as humans, we are forgetful. This is why checklists work so well. They help us, I guess, to remember everything that we need to about a particular subject, or it's also sort of kind of a step-by-step as well. So, we use checklists for everything, don't we? What are we going to take on vacation, to jobs about getting specific projects completed when we're at work. So, you want to make sure when you're doing a checklist post that, that's someone who wants everything to run smoothly and just have a step-by-step process. So checklist blog posts can be hugely valuable to your readers. In fact, these are one of the most downloadable blogs that you will find, is when somebody writes a checklist, then those blogs will get downloaded. So you can help them remember everything that they need to remember around a given subject. For example, let's just say that you're in the photo industry. You could create a checklist blog post of everything that needs to be taken to a photo shoot. What camera you need, the tripod you need, the filter you need, all that kind of stuff. Or maybe you're a real estate agent, and you could write a checklist of things that someone needs to do to get their house ready for sale. Okay, so it's, just writing those checklists can be a really great way. Another one, fitness industry, ways that you can improve your fitness could be another checklist that you do also. Now, to create the perfect checklist, you simply take a common task and break it down into smaller subtasks. Okay, so make sure your checklist is thorough and complete, and probably cover absolutely everything. So, checklists, they present you with a unique opportunity to build your email list also. This is, we use this to build our email list. So, I say to people all the time, we've written a blog on that, or we've got a checklist on that. Why don't you join our mailing list so that you can receive it? So you can offer the checklist as a downloadable, as you like, if you like as well. So there's an opportunity for you to add value to somebody. Or once you've written this type of blog with a checklist, when you meet somebody out and about, you can say to them, hey, look, do you mind giving me your email list, and I'll send you a checklist with this, or, you're just sort of adding value to them straight away, and then you can have it there ready to go as just a link that they attend. So the downloadable link is always really nice. I like to be able to print it out, but you can use this checklist blog as a way to build your email list, which, let's face it, is normally why a lot of people are writing blogs, is to get people to their website and also build their list. So having a blog post like this is really important. So blog type number 5 is a listicle. Now, we all love lists. As we just said, we had a checklist before, but that's why magazines are constantly publishing articles like 10 ways to lose that stubborn belly fat, or 5 ways to be happier. Lists are really quick and easy for us to skim over, and statistics show that if you type in a question to Mr. Google and an article comes up that is a list, we're 80% more likely to actually click on it than we are just a standard article. So, you can make sure that you, when you write a blog, in this kind of listicle format, it's going to get readers to it. And ironically, so we actually like the odd numbers over the even numbers. It's something about the believability. So, something like 7 reasons to do something, or 15 reasons to do something, as opposed to 10 reasons or 20 reasons. For some reason, as humans, we find that odd number is a little bit more believable. So you can write listicles on a huge number of subjects. Here's some more examples for you. So 27 ways to quickly build your email list, 9 easy ways to generate leads, 7 ways to burn fat and get shredded, 19 ways to overcome the fear of public speaking. Now, essentially, these can be really, really simple for you to write, because you're just going to type in 1 to 19 and list your points out with, a sentence after it, or a little bit of information after it. So, generally speaking, the more items you can include, the more appealing it's going to be. But this is a real indication of the type of world that we live in now, where we really want information presented to us in a quick and easy way. So that's why we're attracted to these types of titles. We all would have seen something kind of along the lines of, 101 ways to build your email list, and we've still clicked on that, haven't we? We're really interested just to show us the list, show us all the things. Everyone's drawn to this type of blog post, so it's really a must included feature of your blog post. So blog post type number 6, the case study. Now, case studies are incredibly valuable to readers for several different reasons. Now, firstly, they let the reader see what's going on behind the scenes. So readers love to be taken behind the scenes of what's kind of going on, what they don't know about. This is an opportunity for you to show them the inner workings of your business, maybe, or provide valuable insight to them, that behind the scenes. So they also provide valuable lessons regarding how people or yourself possibly achieved success in a particular area. So let's say, for example, that you as a business owner, you would triple your sales in 6 months. You get to walk your readers through exactly what you did, why you did it, how you did it, and what the results were. So your readers can then implement similar steps in their own businesses, or whatever it is that you are writing about, case studies. Now, if you don't have a personal case study to write about, you can always write about how you've helped one of your customers. So in other words, you want to, this is really important when I mention this though, you want to make sure that the customer is the hero of the story, not you. So, the case study is that, Sally came to you, she had this problem, this is the product of yours that she used, or this is what she did. But then after she did that, she did A, B, C, D, and E, and she's the hero because she went through the whole entire process to get to where she is. So making sure that the customer becomes the hero of the story, and that they're the hero simply because they use your product or service. And that's what helped them get there. So people love to read these kind of blogs and stories, and they can work particularly well to send out via your email list as well. So just something a little bit different. So have a look through your customer list, for the last 12 months if you're an existing business. Obviously, this one it's hard to apply if you're just starting out in business or you're about to start out in business. But, have a look and find that customer that's had real success using your product or service. Maybe it's a customer that continually comes back and buys a product. So, if you were in the skincare industry, for example, maybe it's a customer that has had the most amount of sales, and you can give them a call and say, hey, look, I'm writing a blog post about how one of my customers has had success using our products. You've purchased a number over the last 12 months. Can I just get some feedback from you as to how it helped and why it helped? And, are you happy for me to use your name in the blog, or would you like me to change the details? So it's just about, it gives you an opportunity to touch base with those customers who might be buying from you. But also, it's an opportunity for you to write this hero story blog as well. So when writing your case study, try and provide as much concrete and actionable material as possible. So if it was in relation to skincare, basically the hero of the story wasn't just that they used your product, was that they religiously used it, morning and evening. It wasn't, if they had just bought the product and used it once a week, it wouldn't have helped them. It was the fact that they implemented the steps to have that skincare routine of a morning and an evening that has really helped with their results and where they're at today. So just make sure that you be very clear to your readers about the steps that they would need to take to have that same hero journey as that customer as well. You're all very quiet today. Don't forget, guys, if you have any questions, this is an interactive webinar, so pop them in. We do have question time at the end, but if you have questions on any of these as I'm going through, these are different types of blog ideas to help you with the content that you're going to have on your blog also. So blog type, oh yes, John, you will get a copy of this recording, absolutely. Everybody gets a copy of the recording, so we will make sure that gets sent through to you. So blog post type number 7 is profiles and interviews. So blog post type number 7 allows you, it allows your readers to really become familiar with important people in your industry, but also allows the readers to learn valuable insights and possibly some expert secrets. So what's the difference between a profile and an interview? Because they are two completely different things. Well, in a profile, you're simply highlighting a person without actually interviewing them. Okay, so why would you do this in your industry? So I am, for example, in the marketing space, and I particularly work in social media, where I might be profiling an expert who deals with SEO. So you can see that's a different there, so it could be that it's a already established expert in the industry that I'm relating to. You see a lot of people, for those of you that follow Gary Vaynerchuk, amazing American in the marketing space. So many people have actually started profiling what he does because they simply know just using his name in a blog post is going to have real credibility. So profiling is where you're talking about a person. So what you need to make sure that your readers understand is, why do you want your readers to know about this person? Are they disruptors to the industry, or do they have some really important insights? They could have written a series of books that your audience should go and read. If you're looking for something, are they pioneering new ways of doing things and stepping outside the box? So it's cementing you as a bit of an expert because you're following the experts. But ensure that it's really clear to your audience why you're profiling somebody so that they're not confused. An interview is exactly that. It's an interview. You are asking questions directly to somebody. It allows you to get much more up close and personal with them. It allows you to tap into their expertise and extract the secrets of their success. You can find out what makes them tick and what drives them. So how do you write a blog post? A lot of people say, how do you write a blog post as an interview? It's basically just writing down, here's the question that I asked and this was their answer. So before you're going to interview somebody though, you just need to ask yourself, what would my readers want to know? What questions am I going to ask? So, how am I going to make it straight to the point? They're going to want to read from beginning to end and they're going to get value from this person. So make sure you're trying to get that value across. Hi, Eleanor, I can see that you've put something into the chat. I started my first blog in healing and wellness. What do you suggest for personal stories and avoiding the oversharing and missing the point? So in relation to oversharing, what I always say is make sure before you put your blog up, make sure you do type it out. So type it out into a Word document and give it to somebody that knows nothing about the industry. And that will tell you straight away. When it comes to the oversharing, you just need to look at every single sentence nearly and say, is this sentence adding value or is it just blah, blah? So a lot of people just think, oh, I need a blog post with 2,000 words in it. So I'm just going to, here are the points that I want to say. I'm going to fill in the rest with blah, blah. Because you're right, when you have too much blah, blah in there, they miss the point. So if you have, have that printed out into a Word document, print it out and either give it to somebody or read it yourself and go, is that paragraph actually adding value or am I just filling the space with words? Blog posts have changed a lot, particularly in the last 5 years. Used to, minimum 2,000 words, et cetera, et cetera. You can get away with a really good blog post that's 300 words these days. People want straight to the point, tell me the stuff. There's that much on the internet these days. We just want it to be clear and concise. So you know when you're missing the point, just make sure you print it out, have a good read of it and go, is every single paragraph in here adding value? Do anonymous case studies still have the credibility? Yes, absolutely. But you don't have to say that they're anonymous. When I talk about changing the names and stuff, you can just change it. If you're not talking about Sally, you're talking about Sarah. You don't need to say my anonymous customer, this is what happened to them. You just simply change it and say, we were dealing with a customer and Sarah did this and Sarah did that. So you're really just for the case of the customer, just giving them a different name. It depends what industry you work in. Also, obviously, if you're in a very sensitive space, particularly around one industry I can think of is if you work, say, in the anxiety space, I use this all the time. People aren't going to want their stories shared publicly with their name against it. So if you're sharing out stuff that's really sensitive, financial planning, so talk to your customer and if they're happy for you just to leave their name in it and it's no big deal for them, then that's fine. Otherwise, just change the names of the story. The story is still about the customer. It's just you're keeping that anonymity about it so that you're protecting your client, which is what future clients would like to think that you would do for them also. So blog post type number 8, the expert roundup. Now, an expert roundup is it's like an interview on steroids, really. It involves asking a common question or a set of questions to possibly a group of experts and then compiling all of their answers into a single blog post. So this can work really well, as I said, in the marketing space is a really good example. I might be writing an article about the impact that digital marketing has had across the spectrum of marketing. So I might talk to somebody in the newspaper. I might talk to a newspaper reporter or, my local community newspaper and have a talk to them. Say, look, I'm just writing a bit of a blog post. Can I just ask you a question about how has digital marketing affected your industry? And they give you that answer. So the blog post is really just answering one question. It would be, how has digital marketing affected the marketing industry as a whole? And then you would say, well, I spoke to John from such and such media who runs the local newspaper, and he said this. And then I spoke to such and such, who is a company that deals in local billboards, and they said this. So it's really just compiling all of their answers to the one question. So if you work in an industry where you have people that you can collaborate with that are not necessarily competitors of yours, this can be, the expert roundup can work really well for you as well. And the thing is all of those experts want to share that blog post. So once you type it, you would then send it to those people and say, here is that blog post that I was telling you about, where we referred to you as one of the experts in the field in this industry, because they'll want to put it on across their social media and share it out as well. Hear my thoughts on this blog. So here's some examples. It's got here, you can ask an email marketing expert about their favorite hack to growing their email list. You can ask a number of email marketing experts. You can ask weight loss experts what exercises they recommend for losing weight quickly, or you can ask tax experts what's the number of overlooked tax deduction, what the number one overlooked tax deduction is. So you could ask a series of experts that question and get different answers. So, obviously timing is key here as well. With the one that's looking at tax, that would be a blog post that I'd be wanting to sort of write now and send out now before the end of the financial year, so that, this particular information could be very helpful to a reader, particularly if I'm sending it out via email also. Now, expert roundups have a really greater chance of going viral than even interviews, because, as I said to you, it's normally in a bit of a list. It ticks a few boxes, normally a bit of a list format, because it's one question with a few different answers from a few different experts. You're combining a lot of value because you're bringing people together, but also if you have a number of experts, they'll want to share that out as well. And once they start sharing it out and more of their clients start to go to it, then they'll realize, Google will say, oh, this looks like an article that everyone wants to know about because everyone's going to it. So this can be a really good one to have as part of your blogging checklist. I guess I could supply a blogging checklist to you. That would be handy. But yeah, you could definitely do one of those. That would be great. Blog post number 9, and no, I've got 10 of these, so we'll have a lot of time for questions at the end. So if you're thinking about questions now, get them ready for me. So reviews and comparisons. So let's have a think about this from our perspective for a second. What's the first thing you do? Let's say you're looking for a product. I'm just going to pick, eBay or Amazon, whatever it is. Probably more Amazon does it than eBay, but let's go. Let's go with Amazon. What's one of the first things that we do when we are looking for a particular product? I mean, I know what I do, so I'm going to assume that most people do the same thing. But do you look up a product and then look at the reviews and see what the reviews say? If the reviews say, this product was not what it was when I turned up, I was so disappointed in this product when it arrived, it doesn't make you want to buy it, does it? There's a lot more people now are looking at those reviews and comparisons than ever before, because we're probably buying a lot more products than what we ever did online before. But then what we're also looking for is we're looking for independent reviews and comparisons. Do you notice that? Like, if I was to start talking about how awesome my product is, you're not necessarily going to believe me. But if somebody else was to talk about how amazing my product was, that's got a little bit more believability about it, doesn't it? So things like Google reviews have become really important. And those product reviews on places like Amazon have become very important also, because the reviews aren't coming from you. It's not like, hey, look what our customers are saying and we're in complete control of what they're saying. We're only going to show you the good stuff. It is have a look at what our customers are saying, and this is something that's completely out of our control. It's part of Amazon's process that they get a review from everybody, and here's what people are saying. And reviews and comparisons can really help people make educated decisions regarding particular products and services. So, you can really make a decision based on that. So in a review or comparison, you should really discuss the pros and the cons of a single product or service also. So it's not just all about writing the reviews, but it should be about the pros and cons also. So what's great about the product, what's not great about the product, should you do something or why shouldn't you do something? So, and you can do this across many different industries as well. For example, Alan, I'll use you as an example in financial planning, the pros and cons of sitting down with a financial planner. Like, why do I need to sit down with a financial planner? Well, here's the pros and cons. Here's what you'll get out of it. So having that open and honest kind of, this is what you get, can work. So your goal is to provide your readers with a thorough understanding of how the product works, its advantages and disadvantages, the specs of the product or service, and whether or not you recommend it or not. So that's what a pros and cons kind of blog will look like. So, how the product works, its advantages and disadvantages, the pros and cons, and the specs of the products or service, and whether or not you recommend it or not. So that last one at the end there, I don't mind if you want to write a pros and cons blog, but don't actually say at the end whether you recommend it or not. Sometimes these review and comparison blogs are just literally about handing over some information for somebody else to make up their own mind. So don't be compelled that you have to always say, if it was me, I would go ahead and buy this product, or I would go ahead and get this service. The question could be, why do I need to do something? And here's the pros and cons for doing so and not doing so. You pick which one is right for you. I was having this conversation with a client this morning. We were talking about a change coming up in their business, and I asked them to sit down and write a pros and cons list. Now, a lot of people think when you write a pros and cons list about something, then if there's more cons than there is pros, then you don't go ahead with it. But that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes a good pros and cons list just opens your eyes up. Make sure that you understand what you're getting yourself in for and how something works, but you can still make the decision to go ahead, even though the cons list may be bigger than the pros list. It's just about knowing what the cons are. And, with a lot of things too, the cons aren't something that happens on a daily basis. This last 12 months has been a really good example. Who would have thought they would need to add to their cons list of buying a cafe the fact that we could go into a pandemic and have a shutdown? But you can guarantee anybody that's thinking about buying a cafe today, that is on their cons list. How, could go into lockdown, could be shut down, could be takeaway only. That would be a con. So, obviously, as we have this experience when we get through business, our pros and cons list change a little bit also. Doesn't mean that we won't buy the cafe. It just means that we know what the cons are that come along with it as well. Blog post type number 10, the resource roundup. There are so many resources available on the internet that it can be a little bit overwhelming to try and find exactly what you're looking for. Would you not agree? If you've ever tried to, particularly in business, search for a new product, there's millions of things being created and published each day. And trying to find the best for you can seem absolutely impossible. And this is why the resource roundup post can be really helpful, because there are so many resources available that you kind of just glaze over everything. But if you have a bit of a roundup, you're more than likely going to read that. So this is why they can be so important. So this is just an example. So you could create a blog post in which you link to the best blog posts, videos, podcasts related to search engine optimization. So you see that. So the subject is search engine optimization, but in our blog post, we're going to link to what we think are the best blog posts, the best videos, and the best podcasts related to that particular subject. What's great about this is that this isn't even our content. We're essentially writing a blog post that's saying, here's a fantastic article on search engine optimization. Here's a great video on search engine optimization. And here's a podcast that you can listen to about search engine optimization. We're surrounding ourselves with other experts in our field, but we're rounding up the information. So your title of this blog post may be the best information across the web on search engine optimization. That's going to get people's attention. You could create a blog post in which you link to the best keto recipes. Okay, so you're writing a blog post about what you think is the best keto recipes, but the keto recipes might not be yours. They might be other people's, or they may be from reputable websites like taste.com.au if you're in Australia. Linking to the best blog posts, podcasts, or videos related to Facebook marketing. You know, sometimes a really great blog post on a particular thing, that person doesn't do a video or that person doesn't do a podcast. So it's great to have different pieces of information. This can be a really, really popular one. And it's really great for getting that quick and easy blog post out if you need to. Now, these kinds of blog posts, they tend to get shared a lot because they're really high in value and because they appeal to so many people. There's 5 different types of personalities, and each one of those personalities likes a different things. So some people like emails, other people, you know, like to read blog posts, some people like to watch a video, other people like to listen to a podcast. Comes down to a few different things. The amount of time that we have. I'm a big one for listening to podcasts in the car. When I'm driving to and from appointments, I'll always be listening to podcasts. It's a way of me getting up-to-date information without having to, you know, stop and read something. And it allows me to fill up those times of the day where I could be unproductive with something a bit productive. But I also don't mind watching videos. Quite often I will be on my computer. YouTube will be running in the background, and I will have a video that comes up that gets my attention about something that I want to watch, particularly if it's how to do something on a piece of software or a device, and it actually shows you how to do it. So it, you know, these kind of blog posts can be really, really good and get shared out a lot by people. Blog post type number 11 is a quote roundup. Now, this is a little bit different. It's a bit of a hybrid between the expert roundup and a resource roundup. You know, in a quote roundup, you might gather together a large number of quotes on a particular subject and put them into a single blog post. So this can work really well if your business is a business to business. Other businesses are always looking for quotes on certain things. So it gives your readers a sense of what a large number of people have said about a particular given subject, you know, what those quotes are. You know, if it's on marketing, you might get a quote from Oprah Winfrey, but you'll also get a quote from Richard Branson. So it's important that this can be a really good blog post. Say, look, here's what all of the key people that you might know are saying about this particular subject. So here's some examples. You might create a blog post that has quotes about overcoming limiting beliefs, following your dreams, or the power of intention, or achieving success, or rising early. So these are all kind of, I guess, inspiring kind of ideas. But as I said, if you're in the marketing industry, as an example, or, you know, even for you, Alan, in the financial planning space, you could search for motivational quotes on financial planning and find all the people that have said little quotes about, you know, financial planning. Or for myself, social media, I could say quotes on social media and find all of the quotes that people like Richard Branson and Oprah are saying about social media. So yes, this is great for a blog post to be able to put them in all together. That's fantastic. This also works really well as social media content also, because it's an inspiring kind of post. The quotes normally are inspiring or motivational, but it's keeping it within your industry as well. So something a little bit different. If you're having trouble finding quotes, Mr. Google helps you a lot. So, you know, quotes about a particular subject, motivational quotes about a particular subject, and you will see dozens, if not hundreds sometimes, of quotes that come up. You know, I was doing an example with somebody the other day, and it was quotes about real estate, because I was working with another real estate agent. It's interesting to see all of the things that pop up when you do that. Blog post type number 12, a behind the scenes or a day in the life. Now, you may have seen this a lot, but there's a sizable audience who likes to see a day in the life or behind the scenes. It does a couple of things. It humanizes your business, for starters, reminds them that you are a real person, and gives them a real insight into what it is that you do. So if you were going to do a day in the life, for example, as me as a social media manager, I would want to show them the in-depth that we go to behind the scenes to look after people's social media accounts. So, because I think a lot of people just think, oh yeah, they just whack up a couple of posts and they're right to go. So I want to show them in depth. It's like Alan, with your financial planning, all the work that goes in, it's not just about the meeting with the client. What research that goes into what it is that you do behind the scenes and all of the things. So it's nearly like showing them that what it is that you do is so in depth that they're better off literally hiring you to do it, because you want to show them that, you can save them time. Behind the scenes can be really powerful. People like to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So when they get to see a bit of a behind the scenes, it gives them the ability to do that also. So you could chronicle each moment of the day if you really wanted to, what your morning routine is, or what sort of meetings do you have, what strategies do you use to be productive, what interactions with your team or clients or customers might look like, what do you do to unwind. They want to see that little bit. At the end of the day, we all like to put our feet up on the desk and sit back with a glass of wine and say, that's another customer that we've helped today. So, essentially what the customer sees is they might rock up to your office and have an appointment with you, talking about their financial needs and wants. However, what they don't see is all the work that then goes in after that meeting, and that's what you're showing them as well. Blog post number 13. I can't remember how many different types of these I've got. Quite a few. Number 13, the data-backed posts. Now, blog posts that are heavily driven by data and backed by research are a really outstanding way to position yourself as an expert. So data-backed posts, they tend to generate a significant amount of traffic because they're often quoted in other posts as well. So people will backlink to them. If you're really seeking to establish yourself as an expert or a thought leader in your field, an industry expert, dedicating time to doing this is really important. Data-backed posts they're not necessarily the easiest to write, because you do have to do a bit of research in order to be able to do these, because you need to check on other sources of data. If you can do the research yourself, obviously this takes a lot of effort and time. And normally some bloggers just go, this is not the type of blog post that I'm going to write, because it's too much in looking for all the details. But if you're really great at conducting in-depth research, or you're in an industry where conducting in-depth research is really important, this can really cement you as an expert in your field. You can rely upon the research of others. For example, a lot of what we do around the marketing space, we will quite often refer to the census information, or information from the ATO or something along those lines. So the census works really well for us, because if we're talking about a bricks and mortar business, we're talking about how we're actually going to push out. We will want to say, look, the census shows that the last census shows that this is how many people are in that particular suburb, and the percentage of them that are male and female, and your audience is female. So this is our potential reach. And I can tell you that X amount of percentage of those people are on Facebook or Instagram or wherever they are. So that can be really helpful when you're looking at cementing yourself as a bit of an expert. Is, finding the data and linking to it can have real power, particularly when it's one that's trusted. In the like bookkeeping space is a really good example. The ATO provides lots of information, has lots of blog posts. So you might get that information and put it into your own spin on it, and put it into your blog post, with a link for them to click through to the data from the ATO also, if that's available to them. Blog post number 14, the inspirational stories. I've already touched on this a little bit, but people absolutely love inspirational stories. And it's one reason why millions of people visit certain websites. Upworthy is one that I can think of each month. We love to feel inspired to do more and be better, to pay it forward, or to have those stories. turning an inspirational story into a blog post, and it could be your inspirational story or it could be one of your customers' inspirational stories. It can really help with your website traffic if it's shared correctly. So what you need to consider is, what is the point of your inspirational story or post or blog, and how will it help you achieve your business objectives? So why are you putting it out there? And I guess essentially, what is the point of it for your readers also? So when we're talking about this, again, there may be an opportunity for you to share one of your customers' stories. And this is where you would consider whether you leave their name in or leave their name out. If you can leave their name in, along with this blog post, I would suggest always having a photo of you with that particular person. You know, today I want to talk about a particular client who came to us for some advice on this, or who used our product on this. There's a picture with you with that client. And this is their journey and how, you know, the amazing things that they have done, and put in a couple of quotes from them also if you can. So this one can work really well for you to get that people to your website also. Blog post type number 5, and one of my most 15, sorry, and one of my most favorite ones is frequently asked questions. Now, there are probably certain questions that come up again and again and again in your business, you know, that nearly every customer asks. And these are the questions that they'll email you constantly about, or will come every time you meet with them, will come up. These are the types of questions that you want to answer in these frequently asked questions blogs. So instead of us answering the same question over and over again, you could create a blog post in which gives a really in-depth and definitive answers to those questions also. This can be a really great one to share with potential new clients. I know a lot of people talk about having a frequently asked questions page on their website. I don't think it needs to be a separate page anymore. I think the frequently asked questions should be on your home page, because I think that that's a really important thing people are looking for. But having it as a blog post just gives you real credibility as well, and has that searchability. So in creating your frequently asked question blog post, try and be thorough and answer as many questions as you possibly can. So think about possibly the top 10 or 15 questions that your clients ask and get them into one blog post. So the blog post might be questions everyone asks about financial planning. Great. What is everybody else asking? That kind of post would get my attention, because I would see the questions that I don't necessarily have, but others have asked that question. That's actually a really good question. What's the answer to that question? So, you know, you're trying to create a bit of a resource. It's a resource that you can send out to people over and over again. And it's a subject and a topic that may get picked up by Google as being quite popular as well. If you don't feel like you are great at creating frequently asked questions, I always go back to the, you know, who, what, where, when, how, and why. So if you can get a question based on all of those, the beginning of all of those, that makes it very easy. But if you're still not sure, there is a really great website, and I'll pop it into the chat for everybody now. It's called Answer the Public. I hope I've spelled that right. That looks good. Answerthepublic.com. Yes. So answerthepublic.com. For those of you that have been to my webinars before, I talk about this particular product all the time. This is where you can actually type in a question, up to 3 a day, where you can type in a phrase. So for example, I could go there and type in social media, and it is going to show me all of the questions that people are asking across Google about social media. So that can be where you can get your questions from. Eleanor's just asked a question: if you already have an existing blog page on an existing template style website, i.e. Squarespace, can you later add SEO searches so that it pops up in Google searches? So your SEO, search engine optimization, comes down to a few things. It comes down to the page title, it comes down to the description of that page, and it also comes down to the words that you are in, that are in the actual blog post as well. So there's 3 steps there for getting a post to come up in a search on Google. So you need to be repeating keywords. So you need to find out what the keywords that you want to be searched for are, and then those keywords need to be in the page description, the page title, the page description, and then also in the blog post. They need to be scattered naturally. It doesn't matter where your blog post is situated, whether it's on Squarespace, Weebly, GoDaddy, Wix. You can get it coming up as part of a search. You just need to have those keywords in there. So referring back to these frequently asked questions, that would be Answer the Public will be a really good place where you could go. Blog post type number 16, top takeaways. This is another good one. Are we getting to the stage now, guys, where you're going, oh my God, there is actually so much I could write about? Like the number one thing that people say is, oh, I do a blog, but I don't have anything to write about. By the time I get to the end of this, they're like, wow, I actually do have a lot. So top takeaway blog posts are one in which you might write about your top takeaways from a particular subject. Or it could be maybe you've read a book, or you've listened to a podcast, or you've been to a conference, you watched a movie. Movies can be good ones. So, you know, if a movie was to come out about Alan, the financial planning industry, you could do your top takeaways from that particular movie. But, you know, these type of posts, they allow you to both recommend resources to your readers, but also break something down as well. So you're providing a really valuable resource to your readers by creating this sort of blog post, particularly if you're breaking down a book that is being read. So you're introducing them to something that they could possibly read that could be of true benefit to them, and you're breaking it down in a way that really makes sense to them as well. So, you know, you're helping them learn important lessons from those resources, or making it kind of a dot point. So, you know, if you've read a particular book and you're writing a blog post about that particular book, you're pulling out the things that you think are valuable in that book. And that can be really helpful to your readers also. Blog post type number 17, and this is the last one. I've got a little bit extra to get through. I'm conscious of the time. I've got 4 minutes left. But number 17 is the beginner's guide. Now, these posts are like how-to guides, but they're specifically geared towards beginners. They teach newbies in your industry really valuable insights and skills that they need to learn. You know, it tells them straight away. So if you're a beginner, this is the kind of thing that you're looking for. Here's some examples: a beginner's guide to lead generation, a newbie's guide to running a marathon, a beginner's guide to email marketing, a beginner's guide to social media. As a beginner, these are the types of posts that you look for. These are the type of questions that you ask. You go beginner's guide, social media, bang. So they're a little bit different to the how-to guides because of the title that's telling them it's for a beginner. Beginner's guides, when done really well, can be an incredible resource for those who are reading them, particularly if they're looking for a step-by-step process on how to do something. But beginner's guides allow you to actually mentor people from a distance. It's what I say. You know, they're kind of like, you know, if I was new in the industry, here is what I was doing. You know, the steps that I would take if I was new to social media could be another type of wording for it as well. So now you have all of those things on the types of different blog posts that you can write. So before coming to this today, you might have been like, I have no idea what to write about. We've just been through 17 things that you can write about. So now what? Now you're just going to go away and blog, right? Well, yes, that's exactly what you're going to do. But like everything, it is so much better when you have a plan. So I always get my clients, when we're talking about doing blogs, is they fill out a blog planning sheet. And this blog planning sheet will help clarify exactly what's going to be in your blogs. So it answers questions like, you know, how many words do you want the blog to be? And, you know, what words am I going to include to optimize it for search engine optimization? So there's a couple of things that I'm going to be providing you. First of all, I'm going to be sitting through with this recording, this blog post structure. A lot of people ask, how should I structure it on my website? How should I structure my blog on my website? So I'll be sending you this image, which actually tells you, you know, this is where you put your title, you put your social icons, your Pinterest size images, etc. So you're going to get that, but I'm also going to be sending along a planning sheet. where you can actually, and I should actually put a picture of it in here to actually show it to you, but I'll be sending it along with the recording. It's a planning sheet where you can go, okay, I'm going to write this blog type. What's my title going to be? My title is going to be this. Where is it going to lead to? What is it going to do? What do I want to get across to the particular reader? And, you know, what keywords am I going to use, etc. So you're going to get a complete planning sheet, and you're going to get this blog post structure as well for your website. So what we've been through today is the different types of 17 different types of blog posts that you can write. So you're now no longer confused about the types of blog posts that you can write. You're going to get this blog post structure image, which is going to show you how you can put it on your website and what it should look like. And then you're going to get the planning sheet as well, which is just going to go through and give you everything that you need to be able to write your blog. If you have any questions, guys, any more questions, now is the time to put them into the chat. I'm probably going to go a couple of minutes over, which I know Shay from RDA Brisbane loves it when I do that. So if you have any questions, pop them into the chat now. But essentially, in coming to this Supercharge Your Blogging today, you're going to get everything that you need to make your blogging a success. For those of you interested in my next upcoming webinar, it is tomorrow, so Wednesday, the 2nd of June, and it is on Canva for beginners. So if you're looking for, if I go back to that post about the different type, you notice it's asking for images in here. So it's got, here's where you would put your Pinterest size image, and here's where you put your Instagram image, and here's a banner image. When you come along to this Canva for beginners, you get to learn how to create those images using a free platform called Canva. So that could be really valuable to you also. Now, you know your options for coming through this program through the Australian Small Business Advisory Services. You can have one-on-one sessions from just $44. You can attend the 2-hour workshops from $25, or you can attend these free 1-hour webinars, and they really are of great value. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. If there's no last minute questions, I'm going to ask you to connect with me over social media. I'd love to hear all about and see your businesses. If you have any questions, you can certainly send me an email. Otherwise, I really look forward to seeing you in one of my next webinars. Thanks so much for joining me, and have a great day.